fatigue, recent surgery, then a lift chair from Mobility at Home may be right for you. Mobility at Home has the largest selection of lift chairs for sale or rent in town. You're sure to find the right fit at Mobility at Home. We make everyday life accessible.
When you're not feeling good, of course you want to feel better, but how many times have you said, I just don't want to get up and go to the doctor? It makes sense, doesn't it? You're not feeling good. The idea of going and sitting in a waiting room doesn't really always make a lot of sense. Well, Eric Dunkel has come up with a solution for you. He has long had night owl urgent care. Now he has day owl mobile urgent care. He is here this morning along with Bree Stock, one of his nurse practitioners. Nice to see you both.
Good to be here.
This is one of those things, Eric, that people are going to go, why didn't I think of that? This is brilliant.
I've heard that a time or two.
I'm sure you have.
You know, it's kind of like going back in time a little bit. Doctors used to make house calls, and we're just doing that. After COVID, we saw the need to kind of take things to patients and consumers, you know, with Uber Eats and all these different services. So urgent care is no different. We can actually come to the home now, and it's been greatly received by most, if not all, patients that we go to.
It's interesting because, I mean, everyone gets sick. So essentially, everybody watching is a potential patient at some point down the road. But you think about who would really benefit from it. I'm going to go with moms.
Oh my goodness, yes. Moms love this service. I mean, it's instant. I mean, they go right to Facebook and they'll post about how amazing it was to have us come to their home. You know, even if it's just an ear infection or just something simple that we can come into the house and treat.
Well, you also, like when you have multiple children, what you worry about, I remember, is one of them gets sick and you don't want the other ones to get it, but you don't want to get everybody in the car and go to the doctor. And it's not, and of course you need to do that. You are there for the urgent need. You're not trying to suggest that you can take the place of your primary care doctor.
No, not at all.
But when something flares up, I also used to feel bad because they're having the doctor, primary care, having to fit you in to their already busy schedule, and that can be difficult for everybody.
Well, you just call us and we will be there typically within 30 minutes to an hour is what we try to say. Depends on what side of town you're on too. Sometimes we may take a call up on Signal and then have to come back to Ottawa or East Brainerd. So, but generally within that block time of an hour, we will be there and can help.
I want to bring Bree into the conversation because you are a nurse practitioner, Bree, which means you have seen it all. When people are calling, what types of treatment, you know, what types of sicknesses, if you will, can y'all treat and help with?
That's a great question. So it's really awesome. With Day Owl, we can actually care for basically everything that we would in the office as well. With the exception of x-rays, we can't bring an x-ray to your home, unfortunately, but we can do COVID tests, strep tests, flu tests. We can check for ear infections. That's a really big one with all of our little kids, you know, getting sick is ear infections. We can also do minor laceration repairs and things like that, and that can be very helpful in the home.
So you mentioned that when people call, Eric, typically, at least within an hour, they're having themselves or their child seen. You can't get to the doctor within an hour.
No, and you're gonna, for most practices, you're gonna go and you maybe wait for an hour when you get there, and by the time you get back, you've committed probably 2 to 3 hours at least. So.
But back to that link with your primary care doctor. You do need to have those records there, and you need to have that umbilical cord. So when they're seeing your nurse practitioners, then did their doctors get a report of what's happening?
Not typically, just because we're not a primary care physician, so we don't have access to all those records.
Gotcha.
But we're just, things that Bree was mentioning, just really easy, low acuity needs for patients that they would probably have gone to an urgent care, quite honestly. Most of the things we're seeing, the patients would have gone to a actual physical urgent care, but we now bring that urgent care to them.
You mentioned COVID a few minutes ago, so I'm going to segue then into the older population. That's a big industry for you too.
Yes. So we have seen a lot of patients in independent living facilities, some assisted living, but a lot of these, elderly folks don't have the means to get to their doctor. Typically, it's a big stressor for them to get out, and we come on site, whether it's their building they live in. Some of these independent living facilities are quite large. They're like big apartment buildings, but we will come to them, knock on their door, and show up, and there's a huge smile on their face typically when they see our provider. A lot of it has been COVID testing for them. You know, something as simple as, you know, UTI, we can come and write a prescription for that. So there's a lot of things we can do for the elderly population too.
We are in the midst of allergy season, and from what I remember, allergies can then kind of, if you're not treating them, can then turn into bronchitis types things and sinus infections and that type of thing. So do you get a lot of calls like that too, Bree?
Yeah, definitely with allergy season, we've been seeing a lot of patients coming in with a lot of sinus issues, and we can definitely treat those.
Something else that's nice, I think personally, is that you have 2 nurse practitioners, which means that as you begin to use this service, you're going to become familiar with the nurse practitioners. They'll become like a friend to you.
That's right.
Because you'll just see one of the 2 each time.
Yep, and you know, keep in mind also that we don't just go to the homes. We go to schools, we go to work sites. So we have been to quite a few work sites where there may be an injury on the job. We'll go to that work site and help out. We did physicals, on-site physicals, work physicals for school last week. So we go to homes, and we go pretty much where we're called.
That is awesome.
Keep that in mind too.
Okay, so I'm going to share the phone number with people. So call, obviously, if you need them for an urgent situation, which is 423-800-3040. But if they call that number and maybe they are a business or something and they want to schedule something like that, they can call that very same number?
Absolutely, and we will get it scheduled, and we'll say, hey, we will be out at this time, and we'll help all your staff if that's what's needed.
That's a great idea. So the hours are 9 to 5. And the website is dayowlonthego.com. Again, it's a mobile urgent care. Great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you both
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
It's good to be here.
Age comes with wisdom, and wisdom comes with benefits.
Dryer's broken.
You want a socket.
So make the wise call and compare your Medicare Advantage plan with Cigna.
Where's Moeller?
Cigna Medicare Advantage plans offer